What's up, curious youngsters? What happens if we're always wasting time doing useless things or watching millions of videos, ending up with those weird YouTube recommendations? Why not spend a few minutes on Senor Curiosity and learn something? 30 totally epic facts that you'll forget in 10 minutes, but these aren't just any facts. They're going to leave you completely amazed. For this and much more, here are 30 things you didn't know 5 minutes ago. You probably remember the Christmas movie Home Alone, which is still popular today. However, did you know that Buzz's girlfriend, who briefly appears in a photo, is actually a boy? Yes, he was the son of the art director, since he thought it would be cruel to choose a girl for that role. Nowadays, we can find many animals that are easily considered heroes by many people, and unfortunately, Magawa, a rat who had saved hundreds of lives in the country of Cambodia, recently passed away. She died at the age of 8, and for a long time she was able to sniff out landmines and explosives, thus preventing the loss of hundreds of lives in poverty. Thank you so much, Magawa. Have you ever seen a cat's kittens look so different? Believe it or not, this is actually possible. This situation happens because this animal can become pregnant by several males during the same heat. That's why you can find kittens that are completely different from each other. A long time ago, there was once a woman who set an incredible record for having the most children in her lifetime. She was a Russian woman named Vasilyeva in the 18th century who had 69 children. In general, the tools used in important jobs, such as those related to the Navy, tend to be highly expensive. That's how submarine periscope controls work, which used to cost up to $38,000 in 2017 when they discovered that a $30 Xbox controller could do the same job perfectly. If we're discussing unusual customs, Japan could be among the most extreme, as about 100,000 people are expected to disappear there annually. These people, called Hutsatsu, vanish from their usual contacts and are never heard from again. This usually happens when they face issues at work, school, or in relationships. Why so strange, Japan? Why? Many factors impact each country's local economy, but this is on another level. In 2018, due to the popularity of the South Korean band Bangtan Sonyeondan, billions were added to the local economy, an amount similar to Korean Air's contribution. There are dates that are quite curious, and in this case, it's no exception. You see, November 2nd, 2000 was the last time all humans were together on Earth. If you're wondering why, it's because at least one person has been on the International Space Station since then. Pollution is a problem affecting multiple countries, including China. In fact, it's precisely because of this that a businessman had the brilliant idea to start selling cans with nothing more and nothing less than pure air. It may sound silly, but it cost just 80 cents, and in 10 months he raised over $6 million. If you've ever seen a goat, you've probably noticed their eyes with horizontal slit-shaped pupils. But why do they have them like that? Well, this is because it improves their peripheral depth perception, which allows them to keep their balance. One of the worst places. Also, when they graze, their eyes remain level with the horizon to watch for predators. When it comes to strange records, humans aren't the only achievers. Some animals can do remarkable things too. That's how the record number of mice caught by a cat is 28,899. And it was the cat from a distillery. Her name was Towser. And after her death, Glen Turin Distillery built a statue to honor her. Great job, Mr. Bagatis. Some superstitions went too far in ancient times. And did you know that it said the original word for bear has been lost and was actually replaced by bear, which means the brown one, because people believed that saying its name would make it appear, which was a danger in the Middle Ages. Nowadays, sunglasses are a pretty popular accessory. But have you ever wondered what the first sunglasses in our world looked like? These are around 2,000 years old and were used by Inuit hunters. They looked like this. They were made of bones and had a thin slit in the middle to protect themselves from the sun's rays, reflecting off the Arctic snow. You've probably tried it and seen it for yourself at some point. But an ant can never die from being dropped from great heights. This happens because its terminal velocity can never be high enough to kill it on impact. This happens because the air resistance acting against the ant is so strong that gravity can't push it physically toward the earth any faster. If you've ever gone into the sea, you might have tasted the unpleasant flavor of salty water. However, did you know that most cats can drink it? Well, even though it sounds strange, their kidneys can efficiently filter salty water, using the rest to stay hydrated. If you've ever watched a horror movie, you've probably heard those sounds that usually make your hair stand on end. Some, called infrasounds, are added because they're below human hearing and can induce anxiety. Because we can't hear them, but we can feel them. That's scary. Clearly, cats are mammals that have the ability in their brains to feel emotions. In case you didn't know, the brain structures, mechanisms, and neurotransmitters needed for that process are nearly identical to those in humans. Maybe you've seen or heard of a job that's too strange to be true at some point. And well, there really are a lot of them. In fact, in 2017, National Aeronautics and Space Administration offered a job called Planetary Protection Officer, which basically consists of defending our planet from aliens, and their salaries are around $180,000. Even without experiencing a nuclear explosion, this fact may seem unbelievable given the impact of such a powerful event. It's said you shouldn't use conditioner because it contains cationic surfactants that bind to radioactive particles. These could get stuck in your hair, so it might not be a good idea. If you have pets, you probably know how mischievous they can be, although maybe they've never ordered food online. Incredibly, in 2018, a woman had to remove her Alexa speaker from the house because she discovered that her parrot, whose name was Rocco, used to order snacks from Amazon quite often. If you happen to be someone who often suffers from insomnia, then you'll be glad to know that this probably has a solution, since you can fix it with this trick. There is something known as the placebo effect of sleep, and this is basically what happens when a person convinces themselves that they have slept well enough, even if they haven't. It's often said that the blobfish is one of the world's ugliest animals, a fish you've likely seen online. However, this fish may not look as ugly in its natural habitat. At the surface, decompression makes it expand and its skin relax, distorting its features. Some wedding dresses are famous for their high price and extravagance, but can you guess the cost of the world's longest dress? Amazingly, it was worth about $3.5 million, and its train was nearly 8 kilometers long. If you're wondering what that means, well, it's long enough to cover Mount Everest. That seems a bit exaggerated. Many of the famous artists we know or once knew sadly had a childhood or a past very different from what we imagine. When he was a child, Michael Jackson's father made fun of him for his appearance, calling him names like Fat Nose, which caused him to become obsessed with the way his face and body looked for the rest of his life. Technology advances daily, bringing us incredible products. And you might think that the first smartphone is just a little over a decade old, but you're wrong. In 1994, International Business Machines, his cell phone with a touchscreen already had email, which is why it's considered the first smartphone. Science has evolved a lot, so every day we can come across the strangest news. Although we're discussing a viviparous insect, it might surprise and unsettle you. Knowing that, in general, the milk that comes from cockroaches is just as nutritious as that from cows. According to scientific studies, even if you're really interested in curious facts from the past, this one will probably seem a bit unbelievable to you. During the Great Depression of the 1920s, crops were so cheap that people used to burn corn instead of coal, since it was much cheaper. Are you passionate about cars, or did you just receive some as childhood gifts? The truth is that Hot Wheels are still popular today, even after being released more than 50 years ago, in 1968. You'll be surprised to learn they were founded by Mattel, by Helios Handler and Ruth Handler, the creators of Hot Wheels and Barbie, who were married. Let's see if you knew this, my friend. We're talking classic actors. Does the name Jackie Coogan ring a bell? He was a 1920s child actor who starred with Chaplin. Years later, he learned his parents spent his earnings on jewelry and expensive cars. So he sued them. And as a result, the Coogan Act was created, a law that protects the rights of child actors. Law. If we talk about tragedies in history, we have a long list. In fact, there was an incident in 1875 in Dublin. An incident in 1875 in Dublin, where a fire broke out and 13 people died. Curiously, none died from smoke inhalation or burns, but from drinking. Whiskey from barrels spilled by the fire flowed in rivers.